If you are holding XRP, you better know that today has been a very interesting day for all of you. All of us, I should say. So a little bit earlier today, XRP was sitting at a comfortable $2.12. If I refresh this right now, let's quickly see. You can see XRP is back to $2.05. Matter of fact, at the time of recording this, it's at $2.02. Here we go. You can see it updating. That's because Bitcoin has been going down, Ethereum has been going down, everything is just falling. For Ethereum, there's some good reasons as to why the price is falling. One of the biggest digital asset treasuries for ETH just made an announcement that they're selling 11,000 of their ETH, of their whole 50,000 amount, to buy back the shares. What the actual crap is that? So, I mean, it makes a little bit of sense for Ethereum to fall, but for XRP, this was supposed to be a huge day. Why? Well, this is the launch of the XRP Bitwise ETF. If you're not completely aware, you're not sure what I'm talking about, take a look. Big news, the Bitwise XRP ETF is set to begin trading on the NYSE tomorrow with the ticker XRP. But of course, I guess after some time had passed, today is that tomorrow, and here we go. Milestone day for the XRP community. This morning, the Bitwise XRP ETF began trading on the NYSE with the ticker $XRP. And with today's launch, investors have a new convenient way to get spot exposure to XRP, the crypto asset looking to disrupt the $250 trillion market for global payments. And why is XRP so interesting? Well, because it's one of the longest running crypto assets for over 13 plus years. The XRP Army, a super passionate community of supporters, it's got more than $125 billion worth of market cap, going after huge opportunity, cross-border payments and tokenization, and operating in a crypto-forward regulatory environment with a chance to fully unlock its potential. Through crypto's ups and downs over the past decade plus, XRP has shown great resilience and played a key role in crypto's moves to the mainstream. We're thrilled to launch XRP today and contribute to the next step of XRP's journey, with the major point here that people are not happy about being that they chose the ticker XRP. So right now it's nearly impossible to know if somebody's talking about the ticker on the NYSE XRP or the normal XRP. So I think they did this deliberately to get more attention to it, but still a little bit of a douchey move. And the question that pops up is, why is the price not sending? Well, theoretically, the day one results of an ETF like this are not expected to be really that crazy. And I'm going to say that this is also in a whole wave of ETFs. The whole ETF wave for XRP is happening right now as we speak, but we got a bit unlucky. That is at a time where Bitcoin just now crossed back below 89,000. Let's see if it's still above that though. Yeah, Bitcoin is crashing. Ethereum is crashing. Everything is falling right now, ladies and gentlemen. And if you're in our free Telegram group, which is linked down below, you guys have done pretty well right now because, as you can see, we've got a couple of shorts in throughout the day. One actually turned out to be a loss, but the majority of them have done pretty well. There's also a news announcement that we put in here with all the different things that have happened. And, well, thus far, it's been pretty freaking profitable because the majority of our positions here have been shorts, even a short on XRP. A little bit earlier today at roughly $2.10. Right now, of course, with XRP being at $2.01, that is pretty damn juicy. The first two take profits have been hit. But you can just scroll through here and see all the different analyses and all the different things we've been trading. You also get some nice bonuses to Blowfin for signing up. So just check out the first link in the description. And all you got to do to join is just press this link right here in the description. It's very freaking simple. But I just want to quickly back to this point right here. This was actually the original point of my video until I suddenly realized, hey, for XRP specifically, this is a pretty big day. Why are things negative? And let me get back to that. So one thing I want to quickly make clear to all of you. This week, let's call them ETFs, have purchased ridiculous amounts. But the funny thing is, there's been more going out, so it looks as if, oh, this is all negative and they're all dumping on us. Let me put up two buzzwords. One is manipulation and one is perspective. If we just take a look at Nvidia's recent numbers, their earnings, for example, here, the revenue coming out, one thing that become quite apparent is that they just added about 5% to their market cap in a second or 2 seconds or 10 seconds. Do you guys realize that that addition to their market cap of, I don't even know how much, $205 billion is basically two entire XRP market caps? So what one stock, one company was able to add to their market cap in a minute is 2 times the entirety of XRP, just in a freaking snap. When you start realizing that, when you start breaking it down, We are such an infantile is that the right? Little industry. We are so small. And by the way, I'm just buying XRP right now as we speak, like this literal second. Not over on 𝗏𝗏𝗀, but over on my other platform. But this is on side of the shorts going on. You know, the thing is, I also just feel like I should be buying more and more here over on the platform as well. But I need to have a good little buy-in. For example, I think I can easily put my buy at 201, and perhaps it's going to get filled again. Maybe like let's do $10,000. We buy if XP goes to 201.56 again, because there's a very good chance it will. But then again, I just bought 50K on Bybit, so maybe I want to average it out. Because here's the thing, right? We are such a small little industry, but on the opposite side, they're all rooting for our downfall. If you take a look at mainstream media pundits are starting to grave dance on crypto. Look at them twerking on us. Here's a fat little kicker though. I am buying all these freaking dips. You could just see I didn't really buy too much here over here, just to prove a point right here for later on memories, right? This is a moment where we are so freaking cheap. I just can't stand but having to buy a little bit. Because the general direction I still see happening for Bitcoin, and in turn also for most of the altcoins, is a slow but steady grind. And maybe this little box has moved over, right? So to speak, that instead of, let me quickly delete that and make a new one, right? Instead of being easy peasy of a journey, I mean, at the end of the day, even right now, the whole road has actually still been pretty sturdy for Bitcoin, right? We're not as linear anymore. Right? We've turned this little straight line into a little bit of a more curved line, but still, generally speaking, the direction is upwards for it, and it's yet to break. Right now, potentially it could break, but if we actually end the week above, we're going to say about $93,000, $94,000. We've not even broken below some of the more key levels here. It's just a wick, right? But depending on whether or not we break below, I'm going to say 77, that's again where things really start getting scary, but we're not there just quite yet. Sure, this is a little bit of a bear market inside a broader bull market, but again, even if we take a look at the movements of back in 2021, where on the downwards curve we did not break the moving average, only when the bear market really started did we break it. You can see it was actually also only a few weeks in a row of going below that line before it broke back upwards. And remember, if you were buying this consistently, your average price could have been pretty low throughout this little endeavor, and from the low to the local high was still a 50% gain in just 10 weeks. So I want you guys to realize that. Going down here, how much? Roughly 50% down in, let's say, 11 weeks or 12 weeks. And then pretty quickly afterwards, again, from that, let's quickly see here. I guess there's two parts. So one is going down to here, roughly 55% in 14 weeks, going back up 130%. Then going back down towards this dip, 12 weeks, about 53% down, and then back up how much? Roughly 52%. Sure, you need to make 100% to make back your money you lost, but if you were consistently buying, and your average price was, for example, let's just say right here at $40,400, you could have still made a good 20% return or so over a little bit of time if you placed your buys accurately. And that's also what we're rooting for here, that this is going to be a nice little opportunity to at least take these Bitcoin longs, if we're going for them, back to the moving average, which as of this point is roughly a 17% gain or so, because I think we're falling way too hard. Again, the bear market could be here, sure. I don't believe it, but it could be. But still, the way in which we're falling right now is way too hard. I keep screaming, this is a manipulated effort. At least to me, it looks like that. And it's all happening because of the liquidity that was swept on the 10th of the 10th. But remember, lads, also for NASDAQ, for example, this might be the worst November for the NASDAQ since 2008, all right? Since major crash territory. It's not just our crypto coins that are doing bad. It's a little bit of a doubling up. Then again, a crash like this is really not that crazy. It's not that steep. It's not that wild. Happens many a times a year. And I've already shown you guys this before, but I want to show it to you guys one more time. Make sure before I do that you press that like button. You know, you've got nothing to lose. Let's watch this video one more time about Citibank explaining this liquidity squeeze.
In your note, Dirk, correct me if I have this wrong, we're trying to find explanations for what's going on with Bitcoin. Were you pinning that on tightening liquidity?
That is one of the explanations. So there are a couple of things going on in Bitcoin that are interesting. First, there was a flash crash in early October. And that, for Bitcoin itself, it was a 14% move down over 2 days. Maybe not that drastic, but some of the altcoins really got sold much harder. And after this flash crash, we saw that the flows into the Bitcoin ETFs and so forth really changed. So the flows really never recovered, and so retail was apparently somewhat shell-shocked by that day, and we saw outflows. The other thing that happened is that that I think a lot of the institutional investors trade Bitcoin with a bit of a trend following mindset. And so we broke some of the moving averages that they tend to look at, and that is also reducing the source of demand. But the third point is what you were mentioning, and that is that the liquidity, which we measure by bank reserves on the Fed balance sheet, dropped by a bit more than 500 billion. And that happened because the Treasury increased the Treasury general account at the Fed by selling a lot of T-bills. And there were two reasons for that. One is why this TGA account was so high. One is that that during the government shutdown, the Treasury didn't spend as much, so that account rose mechanically on the back of that. But secondly, they did sell more T-bills than is typical. And so we are thinking going forward, the liquidity squeeze, so that explanation for the Bitcoin weakness should actually get much better, because we expect TGA to at the very least flatten out and probably decline, meaning bank reserves and liquidity should improve between now and the end, partly because of the reopening and partly because the Treasury sold so many T-bills already.
Hopefully you've now pressed that like button. I'll say this is a very nice quote here, or tweet post. The Jor dude said, funny how liquidity all of a sudden shows up right after everyone's shaken out. Remember that this is a game of long breaths, right? Maybe stinky, I don't know, but long at least, right? This is not our first rodeo. These are the prices a bit early today. Let me quickly refresh this because it's a bloodbath, all right? Over the past hour, this is a freaking bloodbath to watch. It's not fun, right? But nobody said it was going to be easy. And remember, they want to shake you out. And the moment that you decide to give up, the moment, the decision, the moment you right now, watching this, press give up, you sell everything, is probably the moment we start going crazy again and go right back up. An interesting note is that we're actually not falling as tremendously as I would have expected throughout the process here, but everything is fully in the red. Zcash, I guess, is holding up ever so slightly here. Everything is in fully freaking red. Bitcoin going towards the underside of $88,000 right now. And if I was not shorting on some different other fields, which again is not something that I like, but I told you guys I'm also going to be doing every single thing that is shared over in Telegram. If you guys want to, and by the way, there's a few more updates, but they've not been posted just quite yet. I can actually also do a nice little challenge where I just take only these trades for a week and see the results just next week from now, because I think it will do pretty freaking well. At least thus far, it's been so accurate. Just take a look at the freaking numbers that we've been able to pull here just over the past week, right? Crazy. And like I said, you also get a nice bonus for signing up to 𝗏𝗏, which is the exchange we use for this trading. And it's non-KYC, by the way, if you're wondering. So you can always just use a VPN or something like that. Regardless, if I did not have my shorts, the only thing I've been thinking of as well, with all the losses I'm making from these prices going down, all I got to do is just lock the frick in, all right, and make sure I get myself so many freaking coins so that the moment that we do open back up, and this is, again, a sharp decline on the hourly, potentially there's some option here to also long Solana or XRP or some of the coins that are just down this bad on the hourly, just to potentially take a little bit of profit on the recovery. Because many times, right, if you see a coin going down 5% or 7% in an hour, there could be a quick little profit gathered just right after the big move. But this is a side note for it. It's just like a little scalp. Because most of the time, somewhere in the midst, pretty quickly here, it does recover ever so slightly. It doesn't mean it will stay up, but it means you can potentially take a little bit of advantage of an overcorrection on the hourly. Again, on the daily, does not count too much. On the hourly, sometimes it does count, especially with some of these larger coins that have good fundamentals like Solana here. Going down 6% in an hour, sometimes it's just a bit too much of a falling knife. I mean, at the end of the day, you might not want to catch it because it's a falling knife. On the opposite side, it may very well be close to hitting that freaking bottom because of the velocity at which the knife was falling on the ground. You get it. Regardless, getting back to it. Have I given up on XRP? Nope, I've not. Have things gotten a bit more interesting over the past couple of days? Yes, they have. And no, nobody said it was going to be easy. No, I don't think I'm delusional. I think I've just been here for a long time. And I realized that if I look back at the 2017-2018 rally and look at almost any one of these moves, it was almost kind of the same. Where throughout the process, you're thinking, but it ended up being a good idea to continue to buy. Sure, maybe I'm wrong on the sense that it's going to take a long time for XRP and some of these coins to get to new heights. But I'll tell you, both of the fields are quite accurate in the sense that if somebody says, oh, it could happen within a month, well, you'd be technically right. If somebody says, no, it's going to take minimum of 6 months, you have a good reason to be right. And so my core strategy is, all I know is over time, it's to the right in the time axis and up on the price axis. All I got to do is just buy and filter out the noise, They want me to sell, so filter out the noise, and it should be okay. I don't think this stuff is going to zero. So by that logic, it's going up like crazy. All I got to do is just buy and shut the freak up. So that's what I'm doing here. But yeah, make sure you press the like button. Make sure you put the notifications on. And I'll see you guys again in another crypto video somewhere later today.